Poor literacy rates amongst children, especially girls, is one of the primary reasons behind socio-economic inequities in India. It sets in motion a lifelong experience of discrimination, denial, and deprivation for the girl child that impacts much of her adult life in terms of identity and choices thereof. Providing access to education and knowledge through reading as a source of primary learning will go a long way in establishing a strong identity anchored in self belief, confidence, and courage for this girl child. This argument, however, needs to be examined in context of social and cultural practices that impede learning at primary school levels much across India. How does one then design, create, and implement a solution that operates at scale to empower a girl child through good reading habits with a larger goal of establishing socio-economic equity and justice? What infrastructure is required to aid this? What are the capabilities, capacities, and leadership required to bring about this change? To explore this subject, here is a conversation with Dr. Bhavna Shinde, a social change maker and a leader advocating and driving sustainable change programs in the field of primary education. She has over 2 decades of experience at the grassroots levels in India and currently works as a national lead at a leading global non-profit organization for child literacy and girls' education. Bhavna, if I recall right, we met for the first time almost 10 years back at Flame University in Pune. And you were a full-time faculty there, and I was a visiting faculty taking courses on the subject of organization, behavior, and development. And I do fondly recall some great work that we could do together for the students at Flame University. And I think a little over a decade has passed since then, and we are reconnecting, and I'm so happy for that. A lot has happened for me over the last 10 years. A lot has happened, I'm sure, for you as well. So let me begin this conversation by asking, where are you right now, and what's occupying your time, and what's keeping you busy these days?
So first of all, again, I'd like to thank you for having me here on this podcast. And it is a real pleasure to work with you again after so many years. So since last 2 days, I have been traveling in Chhattisgarh in small parts of the state to visit some of the schools in which we have been working. Like our teams have been working very closely with the government schools to establish libraries and reading corners wherein we set up small reading centers for students in the government school. We publish good children literature, which involves picture books, big books, and also some story books according to the reading capability and ability of a child. The idea is that if children develop good learning capabilities in the early childhood, it will help them to learn better in the later grades. So these libraries have been a source of these for developing these good reading habits in the early childhood amongst the small areas in Chhattisgarh and in other states. And if you go through these library corners, you will find that they are very well equipped with not only books, but with other reading materials like maybe the wall paintings and other posters, which help the children to identify the alphabets and also connect them to their real life context. So this has kept me busy during the last 2 days, where I've also met a lot of teachers who have been involved in this library mission, and they were very appreciative of the work, and they felt that the books that we were developing and the kind of library practices that we were suggesting was really helping students to develop good learning habits and also reading habits very early on, which will help them in future.
I think 2013 or 14, if my memory serves right, is when we met for the first time at Flame University. And the courses, I was doing and you were also doing were with postgraduate students, MBA students. Now that education, correct me if I'm wrong, can be classified as higher education. And from then, over a decade, you seem to have moved to the primary education for early reading in young kids. That's a huge, huge transition. And I think such a thing cannot happen uh, unless the cause matters to you so much. So, as a PhD, teaching in one of the most reputed universities in India for higher education, postgrad MBA students, to where you are right now in a state like Chhattisgarh, working with elementary schools with what kids who are, how old are these kids?
Between the age of 3 to 9.
3 to 9. So from teaching young adults who are 20 plus, coming from reasonably good background, socio-economic background, to engaging with kids who come from socio-economic backgrounds in rural India. How does it feel for you?
So I think it has been a very eventful and a big learning journey. And as you mentioned rightly, that Flame University was a very different experience where we were teaching young adults and especially coming from privileged backgrounds. But dealing with kids in the primary schools, that too public education, is very different from what we did at Flame University. But I think this cause has been very, very close to my heart since the beginning. And I've always wanted to work with kids, especially because I believed in two things. One was that reading as a source of learning, and second, storytelling, or maybe using playful methods of education as learning in the amongst the early graders, as one of the major or maybe a very impactful way of teaching students. So that's why I think over the years, I worked in different areas of the country as well. I worked in Gujarat with the skill education department, picked up certain cues from there, that how cultural and social norms affect a child's learning. Then I moved to MP, where again I was working with the higher education and also the school education, and I could see that how the social norms plus the cultural ethos really impact students' learning. And that's why I thought that reading again played a very important role, wherein we could maybe use the social cultural practices plus uh, the other stories that come across from across the globe to impact a child's perspective towards the society, towards life, and also towards learning. So that is how I somehow moved into this area. And I feel that it's really interesting and there's a lot to learn and lots to do.
You said just now that you moved in the field of primary education over the last decade or so, from grassroots works in Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and now Chhattisgarh. Uh, Now, education, I feel, or this developing skills to read, and as all of us as kids, for me, books have been a window to the world. Books have opened a world of fantasy for me, and as far as I remember, the best friend I have had for life, all my all these years, have been books, uh, and they've introduced me to life, which was something not I was living. It was being in the realm of fantasy. Of course, it has continued over the years. I extensively read in English, in Marathi, which is my mother tongue. I love reading Hindi too. I have a huge collection of Hindi books as well, just to keep in touch with the language. But I always feel that reading or education is a means to an end. It helps me to become who I wish to be, or to find a purpose, or a direction in life, find sources of inspiration from various stories that one reads, eventually to live a life of with purpose and dignity. Now, you work in the area of children education, especially the girl child. How do you see the social reality of young girls today, age 8, 9, 10, in the parts of India that you've moved? Not just there, even in urban India, over the last 10 years, because this cause seems to, invite you to do something as a social change maker. Because this young girl of 8, 9 today will, despite all the social progress the country has made, there is so much work yet to be done, right, to empower the girl and the woman today. So I would love to hear from you, your field experiences there, and maybe your personal experiences as well, if you're comfortable.
So I completely agree to what you're saying, that in spite that the country has made so much of progress, there is still a lot of things have to be done to really bring about a big change in terms of general equity and equality, both in our country and as well across the globe. Based on my experience in the field, working in the academics and then moving to corporate and then moving to the development sector, I will not say that I faced a lot of challenges as such, but yeah, I did face some kind of like, it was not always equal for the males and the females in the organization as well, in terms of the opportunities that were available, or the way, in terms of the acceptance of the views and the perspectives that we brought to the table. And also in my personal life, I faced similar challenges. So somehow that also pushed me to really think that how the girl children, or maybe the girl child, faces challenges and deprivation because of the social norms and practices that we follow in our country. And somehow these social norms and cultural practices fail to instill the kind of confidence and purpose a girl child can have in her life. So that was something that really motivated me to work towards the girl education. And I feel that for really bringing about a change, it is very important that we work with these girls since the childhood, wherein we develop a certain level of understanding, perspective, and which will instill confidence in them, that they become strong and they feel that they are positive contributors towards the social like change, and also towards every little thing in the society. That's how I look at it, that girls education is really important, especially if it is the cause is taken up since the early childhood for the girls. That will help them condition in such a manner that they will become more confident about their purpose in the society.
So how as a 8-year-old or a 10-year-old Bhavna, what kind of life did she live, and does she find inspiration from her own story to do what she is doing today?
I, as an 8-year-old, was very privileged. I am I have been brought up in a family where we were two sisters, and my father was very progressive, and he really helped me and my sister to grow as very independent and confident individuals. My mother was equally confident, and she was very positive about her life, and also towards the relationships and the social norms. So that somehow instilled that kind of purpose towards doing something good in the society, contributing towards development of the society. But over the years, when I got married, I did face discrimination challenges, which led me to question a lot of things in the society, and also uh, regarding my behavior as an independent female in the society. Over a period of time, again, this was very difficult for me, so I moved out of that situation, and again started establishing my life. And one thing I realized was what helped me the most was my education, my upbringing as a child who knew that she had a purpose in life, and she uh, was equally powerful to contribute meaningfully in the society. So that was something that helped me to come out of the challenges that I faced in my marriage, and then establish myself again in the society as an individual who has her own identity, who has her own purpose to achieve in life.
Bhavna, I mean, I'm actually wondering about the paradox, especially about women. I mean, I'm speaking this very conscious of the fact that I am a male, but today in 2023, we live in an India where the finance ministry of the country, which is aspiring to become probably in the top three economies of the world, and the person who is leading this from the front as a finance minister of the country is a woman. So is the case with many well-known leaders in the world of business or academics. I mean, a very dear friend of ours, she is the country CEO of one of the largest US multinationals banks presence in India. Now we have extremely successful women at one end, uh, doing well for themselves professionally, and of course looking after their own family at the same time. And at the other end, you keep coming across stories like women paraded naked in Manipur and made into an object of desire or object of abuse. Somehow men or uh, the male society in this country will will perpetrate all kinds of difficulties and torture on the woman. At the same time, come Durga Puja or come Navratri, they will go and worship the Devi. Strange, isn't it? So how do you look at this as a woman yourself? That either the lady is put on a pedestal and worshipped and respected, or trampled under the feet. And that is a reality
I
even in 2023 India.
Somehow I believe that it's very important that uh, how how a woman sees herself. So the society might uh, see a woman as an object of pleasure, or like may put her on pedestal at the very next moment. But to be it's very important for a female to be grounded and understand that she has her own identity, and it need not be actually uh, be affected by how the society is looking at her, or maybe how different sections of people are looking at her. So it is very important that she holds her identity very strong. The day women start holding their identity very strong, I think these two very different levels of behavior coming from the society will somehow come to a balance. I am not saying that it'll completely change, but yeah, definitely it'll come to a balance wherein women will be looked up to their uh, right position in the society, or maybe uh, way they want them to be respected and looked up to by the society. So it's very important that uh, female herself holds her very strong. And I think again that grounding comes from um, the early childhood conditioning, the education we have had, the confidence that comes because of this education and upbringing. So I somehow very strongly advocate that it's very important that the girls should be given strong positive conditioning and education in the foundational years.
I'm actually also reminded right now about this beautiful film called Pink. I don't know whether, Bhana, you have seen that. Amitabh Bachchan, Taapsee Pannu, and a couple of some amazing female actresses who played, some great characters. Where Amitabh played an advocate, and it was a case of, I think, physical abuse experienced by this uh, protagonist in this film, played by Taapsee. And there's this beautiful line that the advocate role that Amitabh played, which said in the court, and which is, I think, the cornerstone of the film, according to me, when saying, it says that when a woman says no, it means no, period. That is a very powerful statement, isn't it? I mean, first and foremost, sadly, not just in India, I think any part of the world, even if you look at, I was reading some articles about the experience of discrimination and denial faced by women in progressive countries like the US or UK or Western Europe. Even there, 3 out of the 5 women the report talked about, a very reputed report, the woman would have experienced discrimination or denial in her life. Now, these are very educated society, educated women. So the question I have in my mind, and I'm kind of grappling with this and struggling with this, is mere education enough for a woman of today to stand up and to assert herself to be who she is? Or if the lack of right education becomes a huge barrier even to be able to stand up and assert herself?
I feel it's not just about education, it is about the right education and also about the right environment along with that education. Because what you are mentioning, somehow it actually trickles down through the generations. Like the generations have been conditioned in such a manner that in spite of being very educated, a lot of times we are not being able to assert our rights or maybe even assert our thoughts in the right place, and that comes only when we are given the right education plus also right experience to apply it. So like if you look at a lot of our stories in the textbooks as well, which glorified some of the female characters in the past, but while glorifying them, they have also not really brought out the right conditions behind that strength that came with that woman or maybe with that female character. So as you're mentioning, it's very important that we give the girls the right education and also somehow train them to apply it in their personal lives and also in their professional lives. Like if we have to say no, we have to say no, and it's non-negotiable. So the day we are able to take that stand, and it does not only come through education, but yeah, education can condition you to give you that confidence that you can say no at the right time or maybe take the right decision to hold your respect and dignity in the society.
Also, if you look at watch any television channel or a soap opera, that you see on Indian television today in any language, not necessarily Hindi, which is a national language, but if you start on any Z TV channel, which is in many languages, whether it in Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil, Kannada, you will it will show a modern woman, but when it comes to tradition and parampara, the expectation is the woman has to carry the burden of parampara on her shoulder. It's a power game, isn't it, between the two genders, getting played from time immemorable. Even today, the forms have changed, but it's just the same. I mean, you would see probably young girls walking into a bar and taking tequila shots, but at the end of the day, their story, despite good education, continues to be what it has been.
So I think one of the reasons is, again, when we portray these girls, even in the media, somehow these girls who are taking tequila shots are not really taken in the right light, while girls who are shown in traditional manner, or
Jura
maybe
and
they
sari
are
and
portraying
bindi.
traditional. They are glorified and they are put on pedestal even through the media.
Correct.
So somehow that discrimination is being created at that level as well. But somehow, again, it comes to the same thing, that in practice, in real life, how we are holding ourselves. And over a period of time, if these women take steps to show the world that if a girl is going and having a tequila shot does not mean that she is bad charactered, or the one who is being glorified because she is wearing a sari or following those traditional customs, is the one who has to be really followed to the T. There has to be, again, coming down to the same thing as I mentioned earlier, there needs to be a balance. And that balance comes when you are given the right kind of education and right kind of conditioning, and you can make that discretion that, yeah, this is something that's good for me, and this is something that will really lead to a lot of challenges in my life. It's not just about showing off, or maybe picking up practices which the peers may be following. It's very important that I think it's, again, very individual. Though the society is creating that discrimination, it is very important that we need to have our own purpose and confidence to say that this is me and this is how I am.
And I think this is me and this is how I am, or this is what I want to be or wish to be.
Mm.
I think that thinking has to start very early in life, right? And which basically comes down to the fact that this uh, instilling a sense of strong identity and character has to happen very early in life. And the seed for that and the work that you are doing seems to be right education at a very early stage.
I think that unlocks the potential of a person once a person realizes his or her, like even for the male students or maybe the boys, it's important that once that potential is unlocked, then a child becomes very confident that, yeah, I can do and achieve whatever I want in my life. And once that goal or purpose is very clear, and if even if it is not clear, but a person is confident that I'll be able to reach that, then they take the right steps. And I think that definitely comes through education, and more than education, a lot of reading, a lot of understanding of the different perspectives in the society, um, and also understanding the world around you. So somehow my project right now, which is into library mission, wherein we are trying to instill learning and reading habits since the childhood, aims for the same, that once a child starts reading and tries to read as many possible books around him or her, and through these books understands the society, the culture around him or her, will really build strong personalities who will be able to take their decisions and take right decisions.
So, what sort of stories one would find in the books that you are promoting as your reading room project in Chhattisgarh today? If there is any particular story that you believe.
Chhattisgarh is primarily a tribal state, and there are a lot of practices which are still existing in the state, which come from the tribal area, and not all of the practices are very limiting. In fact, a lot of practices are very progressive as well. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to focus on two things. One is a child learns very easily through the mother tongue or the local language. So we are trying to build books which are in local languages, which capture a lot of local folklore and also cultural practices, so that the child is very well acquainted with the local environment. Second thing, what we are concentrating on is a child learns quickly if he or she can relate it to the pictures or maybe the context of a particular story. So our books are very illustrative. They have a lot of pictures and pictures with which a child can relate. They are not really they don't have a lot of words, but give a lot of space for a child to imagine with pictures and also play with words over a period of time, so that the child develops interest in picking up books and reading them. And also, these books are somehow very well contextualized, so that the child does not lose interest in the current context, and also builds over that context to maybe add to it through his or her imagination. So that is how we are taking up reading as a habit for early graders through our library mission.
And what do these kids tell you when they read the book, when you're in the classroom with them? What kind of कैसी कहानियां वो आपको बताते हैं कि उनको क्या मिला इन किताबों में से?
The best thing that came to me was that I went to some of these places, and the children were even trying to read the newspaper. So it was very surprising that they were just not reading their textbook, but also trying to read through the newspapers. And when we talked to their teachers and them, they were like कि हमारे एरिया में तो बच्चे न्यूज़पेपर्स भी बहुत आसानी से पढ़ लेते हैं, बिकॉज वो लोग बुक्स पढ़ने में बहुत इंटरेस्टेड रहे हैं बिकॉज ऑफ द रीडिंग मिशन दैट वी वर रनिंग. So I think that gave us a lot of sense of achievement, that if we could instill that level of reading habits amongst the children, where they actually started picking up the local newspaper and started reading through it.
And who makes these books?
So,
I mean, where do you source the stories and the content and the creative part, the illustrations? Who does it for you?
we are encouraging a lot of local writers and even young literature students who would like to become authors for child literature, and also some of the illustrators and art students who would like to illustrate these books, because most of our books are more picture driven. So there is a combination of authors and illustrators who work on a book, and they come from all areas of the society. They might be teachers from the government school, or from they might be young students who like to write for children, or maybe authors who are working in the area of children literature.
So, Bhavna, let's turn to your field work and some of your field experiences and field stories, especially about the challenges of early education, especially for a girl child.
So I like, as I mentioned, that I moved in different states for my work. So I had a lot of different experiences with the early childhood education, especially amongst the girls, uh, through my uh, professional work and also through the voluntary work that I've been doing with different organizations and communities wherever I have moved um, during my 20 years of career. So one of the examples that comes to my mind is which actually tells about how good reading practices can help a child develop or maybe unlock his or her potential is one girl in Uttarakhand. She was facing certain learning disabilities and she was in class third, but she could not read or even write well. So the teachers identified the challenge and they somehow convinced their parents that if we put in with the grade 2 students, wherein she was given more books which were pictorial and which had interesting contextual stories which she could relate to. Over a period of time, she developed such strong interest in reading that she became part of the library management committee in the school, which was run by the students. And she also started writing stories for children. And this gave her a lot of confidence. And over a period of time, that girl picked up reading, writing, learning much better than the normal students. And she could overcome the disability that she faced earlier. So I think this was a very interesting story that I came across, or a case that I came across, and that reinforced that we need to, if we can provide good books to children and provide them early on and develop that interest in them, that can really help them make full use of their potential and they can do miracles as such. So that was one of the experiential stories. The other story, especially which especially focuses on girl education and how girls do face discrimination in education, was in Gujarat, in Kutch. Like the Kutch, there are tribes in Kutch where women are not allowed to come out of their houses once they start menstruating. So their lives curtailed to houses, and the girls are not given any opportunity to really study. So one of the organizations working with these communities came out with a very good solution. What they did was they started putting them with small videos which helped them, which attracted or interested the girls to go through these videos and learn through them. And just because the opportunities for education were limited, but it was important that these girls should be empowered through some kind of financial independence. So their traditional skills of embroidery were supported through small assignments and projects. So over a period of time, these girls developed these skills. They picked up these skills from their mothers and within their household and became financially independent. This helped two purposes. One was that their traditional skills were revived and also maintained, while the girls became financially independent, which really empowered them to hold a strong position in the family. Though the position of education really didn't improve a lot, but yes, this at least helped empowering of women in that community. What we were like when I was working on this project, one other like aim of our project was that if we could maybe change the mindset of the men in the society, which was not very easy because they had been following the traditions over a period of time and the women had also accepted those traditions. So what we started doing was we started advocating these changes amongst the young boys. And over a period of time, they started realizing that how they should treat their sisters or mothers at home, and how they can provide opportunities for education to their sisters. And there has been a change in that community over a period of time. And there are boys who are supporting their sisters to go out and study. So this was one other example that I have seen over a period of time uh, when I worked with this voluntary organization in Gujarat. So it was a longitudinal kind of research that we were doing, and we could see the change. So this highlights one very important aspect of early girl education, is that it's important that we can, if we can maybe educate the boys in the family as well, so that they developed that kind of an understanding, and they are also conditioned that they need to treat the women in the family equal. Because a lot of challenges that women are facing is also because the men are not conditioned to treat women equal, especially if you look at the society in India. Somehow the patriarchal society uh, supports men to feel that they are superior, they hold a different position in the society compared to female. And uh, even if the women are becoming aware of their rights and they are being educated, somehow they are not supported by the men in the family to really use their rights, and also take up like activities to become financially independent, or maybe take up employment to become financially independent. So this work that we did in Kutch really helped us reinforce our thoughts that it is important that we work on the early education of boys as well, wherein we instill in them the sense of responsibility towards bringing about equality for women.
You also were involved in a large scale project in the state of Madhya Pradesh also, right?
Yeah.
If you could tell us more about that.
Yeah, one experience that comes to my mind in one of the small towns that's called as Alirajpur. It's a district, in fact, which is a tribal district. There, females are restricted for to education because the society feels that the girls need to be taught only by female teachers. And just because the community did not have educated females, so there were very few female teachers available who used to come from outside. So that was again creating a challenge. One solution that we found for these girls was that maybe if we could have some kind of online education for them, where they can have videos which can be used on the mobile phones. Because advantage that we saw there was that most of the houses did have internet and they had mobile phones. So we thought that if we could maybe use online education as a mode for encouraging these girls, because finding female teachers in that area was difficult. And over a period of time, when once these girls started picking up like these videos, and they could start getting interest in studies through these videos, uh, they 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 were like they asked their parents, and they were looking forward to go to school as well. But this activity, I could not really take it to an end, or maybe to a very um, different level, because I moved out of that project. But what I could see in that project as well was that if we could somehow again change the mindset of the males in that society, things could improve.
So, what I'm hearing from you, uh, and if we can extend that argument even to societies which are, or people which are more privileged, unlike the examples that you gave of societies which are probably lesser privileged, socio-economically, I'm saying, uh, of not only empowering and strengthening the girl child very early on through right education, but simultaneously working with boys and men in the society to get them to understand, appreciate, and be sensitive to uh, to the women in the family at home first, and then of course the extended family and the larger society. But then, Bhavna, this problem definition, one can engage in that process. One can also uh, you know identify and implement some let's say solutions or change activities. But then for a billion plus country like India, where this reality is so all pervasive in such a vast geography, work like this also would have to be thought and done at scale, isn't it? So, how have you, looked at the scale challenge here? Because it is uh, as much a management and a leadership issue as well, isn't it? For hundreds of millions of girls, to be able to empower them also will have to be thought of with an approach which operates at scale.
True, especially because in India, it is really like the problem exists at a big scale. Uh, and especially with the case of Madhya Pradesh, if you like, I have worked in Madhya Pradesh, so I can relate more to scale from the level of Madhya Pradesh, wherein maybe we have 1 lakh primary schools, and there are so many students who are studying in these primary schools, and they're still facing the same problems that we have been discussing, whether the girl students in terms of getting the right to come to school, and boys students understanding that they need to be sensitive towards the females in the society. What we have been trying to do over the, like, at least through my projects, what we have been trying to do is we have been trying to advocate this to the government. We have picked up certain initiatives which we are uh, following up with the government, the state governments, the school education department, the women and child education department, child development department, wherein we are advocating policy level changes, which can be implemented through specially designed projects which could improve the quality of school education, which will improve equity and access to school education for children in the remotest part of the country, and also in locations where in lot of discriminating social norms is. And through this policy advocacy and these projects which are designed on large scale, we are trying to bring about changes in different pockets of the like maybe the remotest part of the states as well. So when like this is a kind of intervention that we are trying to do for addressing the scale of the problem, and how maybe we can improve uh, the situation at the mass level.
Does
Yeah.
call for a lot of collaboration and partnership with many stakeholders then.
Yes, there have been community organizations which are working with government, and they are bringing in a lot of good expertise, and also funds for supporting these causes. Uh, like one of them could be establishing of these library corners and reading corners across the country in the government schools. Because though this initiative might look very small, but it has a bigger impact, And once a student starts reading, and he or she will automatically work towards using this reading skill to learn further in life, and that will somehow empower him or her to develop better. This is how the partners are also bringing in their support towards this cause at a large scale.
So your work does involve partnering and collaborating with many such stakeholders and orchestrating the whole thing at scale. Would it be right to say that?
Yes. We are also working very closely with community as a partner, because we feel that unless and until the community is collaborating with the cause, the things will not happen, and they will not be sustainable. So as to keep these initiatives live for a long period of time and also be sustainable, we are also collaborating with the community and doing a lot of programs with the parents of these students, and also with the local community, which can support and advocate for the cause.
Bhavna, many years back, popular Indian film actor, everybody likes, Amir Khan, he started an initiative called Satyameva Jayate to bring about social change on various subjects that holds back the growth and progress of the society. I think those were 1-hour episodes weekly. He used to come on Star TV, I think, if I remember right. I don't know. I'm sure you must have also probably seen it.
Yes.
On one of the episodes, the guest was, he invited Swanand Kirkire, the noted Hindi songwriter and lyricist. And Swanand sang a beautiful song, because the theme of that episode was understanding, recognizing, and respecting the girl child and her needs. Swanand sang a very beautiful song in that episode toward the end. I'm going to play that song for you right now, if you're okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Here it goes.
ओरी चिड़ैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आजा रे ओरी चिड़ैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आजा रे अंधियारा घना और लहू से सना किरणों के तिनके अंबर से चुनके अंगना में फिर आजा रे सितम है किए हमने तुझ पे जहां भर के जुल्म किए हमने सोचा नहीं तू जो उड़ जाएगी ये जमीन तेरे बिन सूनी रह जाएगी किसके दम पे सजेगा मेरा चिड़ैया मेरी चिड़ैया अंगना में फिर आजा रे तेरे पंखों में सारे चिरैया मेरी चिरैया अंगना में फिर आ जा रे ओरी चिरैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आ जा रे ओरी चिरैया.
So there are these few lines in this song which has Bhavna stayed with me even after so many years of seeing that episode on Satyameva Jayate, where Swanand Kirkire writes, and I quote him, he says, हमने तुझ पे हजारों सितम है किए, हमने तुझ पे जहां भर के जुल्म किए, हमने सोचा नहीं तू जो उड़ जाएगी, ये जमी तेरे बिन सूनी रह जाएगी, किसके दम पे सजेगा अंगना मेरा, ओरी चिरैया नन्ही सी चिड़िया अंगना में फिर आ जा रे. How does that?
I'm actually dumbfounded. I'm so overwhelmed with the emotions. Can relate to it so much. I think if each one in the society starts holding this thought, I think we all can really bring about a change. The day the family, the society starts seeing women as an equal contributor in the team rather than differentiating based on the gender, and sees the strength that can be brought in, I think there'll be a change. And I have seen a few leaders in the corporate as well who are promoting females based on their capabilities, their strengths. And those teams have performed extremely well and they have done some incredible job. I can give you examples from my teams as well in my current organization, wherein the state teams are led by females and they are performing and they are doing much, much better than other teams. I'm not undermining anybody's capabilities, but they bring in a different level of commitment, dedication, creativity, which if supported can do wonders.
You know, I was closely associated with a diversity and inclusion initiative in one of the organizations that I was consulting. These days, DEI seems to be the flavor of the month or the day. Every organization seems to have a diversity and inclusion program where the focus is of bringing in gender equity. And after weeks and months of work, the program was designed and conceptualized for giving equal opportunities to women in the organization. Firstly, recognizing that we don't give such opportunities. That was a big act of courage by the leadership and the management of the organization. But when the program was rolled out, within a matter of few days, Bhavna, hundreds and hundreds of emails came to the program management team from women in the organization that if you are creating this program to give equal opportunities to women, and if this is how you are framing it, we do not wish to participate in this program at all. Just because we are women, we don't want access and equity. We want access and equity based on who we are, our skills, our capabilities, our knowledge, our experience, and what we can do to the organization, not as a woman. And this was such a shocker to the management that the women for whom they were creating this equal opportunity program stamped their feet down and say, we are not interested. Because you're categorizing us as women, in a very subtle manner, you are saying that because you are a woman, we are giving it to you. I think that's a sea change that is happening in the country as well, that gender equity is not looked at merely from the lens of women being given lesser access and lesser privilege. Women are also standing up on their feet and saying, don't give us those access because we are women. Give us that access because who we are and what we can do.
That's what I was trying to highlight when I said that if they are given opportunities as a team member and the strength that they bring in, it's not especially only because they are women, but because of the strength and the energy and the positivity that they bring in as individuals.
I mean, undoubtedly, even in mythology, especially Indian mythology, I mean, she is the Saraswati, she is the Lakshmi, she is the Durga. We worship the women form in all the three avatars. And she's the one who, I feel, this is my personal opinion and I stand corrected, is she is the giver of birth. She is the nurturer and the caretaker. She is also the protector. So I think in not just Indian mythology, I think you look at mythologies all around the world, whether it is Greek mythology or mythology from Latin America, there has been knowledge and understanding of the power of the woman identity. We just have to just acknowledge and accept, I feel, and live out these stories that we have grown up with as children.
I think you mentioned somewhere during our discussion that it is all about a power play. So yes. Instead of dwelling in that power play, if it can be considered that women are the equal halves, and that fact can be appreciated, then I think nobody will have any nobody will feel that they are given rights or maybe equal access only because they are females. And in fact, everybody will appreciate their own identity in the society and find their purpose. This is how I look at it. Because I do appreciate or maybe I feel proud that I am a woman. So I will not deny the strengths that I bring in as a woman. So will always be happy also to receive and be appreciated for those strengths and the spirit that I bring in. But I don't want to look at it as a privilege, but as a right or maybe a basic human, like I'm unable to express that because of the emotions that I'm overwhelmed at this moment after that song and also the discussions that we have had during the last 1 hour. Somehow it's like every individual should appreciate their qualities and their strengths, and be it a man or a woman. And once we accept that both the genders are equal and they have their own strengths that they can bring to the table, that will help develop an equal society wherein girls and women will feel protected and also appreciated, and men will be able to really get that benefit that comes from having women around in the family, in the society, and also at the workplace.
We have this powerful symbol in our mythology, Bhavna, the symbol of the Ardhanarishwar. True. I mean, each one of us is born of a man and a woman, So within each one of us, we have both the psychological identities of a man and a woman. I think, I mean, for me, gender is much beyond the biological reality. It is, for me, a social construct. How we have been told since we are born that you're a boy or a girl and you're a man and a woman, and these are your roles and these are your roles, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's a social construct to create a certain society, which, in my view, is largely based on the notion of power play. And if only the men in the society are able to understand and acknowledge and bring forth the femininity in them, and if only the women are able to understand, acknowledge, and bring forth the masculinity in them, and see it all as a play, Leela, as they call it. Of course, there will be all kinds of conflicts and challenges and all that stuff, but then it'll only improve life and living, is the way I look at it. I think, Bhavna, this conversation on a subject like this with somebody like you can go on for hours. One podcast episode is not enough, but I have enjoyed every moment of this conversation. Would love to hear from you. How has this experience been for you?
I think it was a very, I'll call it a revealing experience. I through the discussions, I kept on, like my thoughts kept on evolving around the questions that you brought in. And I kept on adding my experiences, my challenges, my perceptions of the society, of the workplace, of the various initiatives that have been taken up for improving the position of the girl child in the society. So I think it has been a good, I'll call it as a revealing, learning, and also an experience that has helped and enriched me during the last 1 hour as well. I also look forward for more discussions like that with you in future, and hope I'll be able to contribute towards the cause that I'm working, that's developing or maybe empowering girls through foundational education, right foundational education, which they can apply in their real lives and unlock their potential and achieve whatever they want to achieve in their lives. So thank you so much for having me on this podcast.
Great, Bhavna. Wish you good luck. Take care. And maybe hope to see you sometime, somewhere in one of your classrooms.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time today, my dear listeners. This is your host, Milind Agnihotri, signing off. Goodbye, take care, and stay safe. This podcast is for general information purposes only and should not be considered as a piece of any professional advice. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of its guest. Creators of this podcast expressly disclaim any and all liability or responsibility for any direct or indirect, consequential or other damages arising out of any individual's use of this podcast. For feedback and suggestions, please write to wingsindia75@gmail.com. Thank you.